أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على I realize it's not easy to sit after the lunch, but inshallah we can have some reflection on the food for our minds. We had talked about this ayat earlier in the morning, but now we are going back to it in order to relate that to the whole framework of the curriculum. This ayat was basically chosen as a symbol of what this curriculum stands for. And basically, this is an ayat which talks about, in a summary form, it's a beautiful ayat, one ayat, but very comprehensive as far as the true identity of a Muslim and a Mu'min is concerned. As we see in the very beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. That bir, righteousness or piety does not depend on just turning to the right or the left. It's important to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here begins with negative. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to emphasize a point, this is how He does it. Even our kalima starts with La ilah before we come to illallah. Surah wal asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Very strong, wordings that a human being is in loss. Illa, then, we come to accept those who have this and that. And so here also we see the same style, that righteousness does not just depend on, physically expressing yourself by turning your face to the right or the left. Rather, what is the criteria? وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرِّ. Bir and righteousness is dependent on three things. And this is where we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about three things. One is that one should have sound belief system. The aqeedah is the foundation of everything. Amal by itself doesn't have value unless it is, based on a sound aqeedah. And then the second is that aqeedah by itself, if there is no action after it, it means that the roots are dry. And so a true mu'min is somebody who, if the roots are strong, then it has to reflect in the fruits which come out. And then, of course, we come to the end then, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the moral or ethical, foundation of a Muslim personality, emphasizing on two things. So let us look at the ayat. وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرِّ. Righteousness is what? Number one, when it comes to the sound belief system. مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ. And this is where you get three things there. Number one, Iman is based on the origin. What is the origin? مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the origin of everything. And then the second is the end. وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. The last day, the day of Qiyamah, and what will happen after that. Now, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the origin, and He is the one who brings about the creation, and then there is a last day, which is the day of judgment. Well, judgment for what? The judgment for what we do in this hayat dunyawi. And that's where we come to the third part of the aqeedah, which is the roadmap. Where does the roadmap come from? It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But He uses the agency of malaika to convey that roadmap to the Anbiya and Mursaleen. And so the very first thing after وَمَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ is وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ. They are also the workers of Allah. They are mudabbirat. They manage the universe for Him by His command. And they also are the messenger between Allah and the messengers and the prophets. Of course, when they bring the message, it's not only verbal. Sometimes it is in the form of a book. So, wal malaika wal kitab. وَالنَّبِيِّينَ. No book has come by itself. It has always come with a Nabi. And so this system of guidance is there in this dunya. So you have the origin and the end, and in between, in order to go through that roadmap, you need divine guidance. Of course, our Prophet was the last Nabi, and so after him, the guidance continues in form of the imamat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wassalam. But then just having that aqidah wouldn't be, sufficient. And then that's where we come to the issue of the challenge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you truly believe, if your foundation is strong, if the roots are strong, then it has to reflect in the fruits. And what is the first thing? وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ. That those who part with the mal and the wealth that Allah has given to them, عَلَى حُبِّهِ, for the sake of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to whom? Starting with the family members. ذُو الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى, the orphans, وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, the poor, وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ, the stranded traveler, وَالسَّائِلِينَ, the beggars, وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, those who are in bondage and slavery. Of course, these days we don't have slaves, but you can symbolically say, bondage of different types, that you can help people to become free from that. And then we come to the rituals. There is no religion which has no rituals. It is part of the definition of a religion is that it is based on certain rituals. And what is the rituals here? The charity came first, and then Allah says, وَأَقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَآتَ الزَّكَاةِ. That, and then the person, the true righteous person is one who establishes prayers and gives the zakat. As I mentioned earlier, salat is symbol of the vertical relationship between man and God, man in the sense human beings here. And when we talk about wa'at zakat, this is the horizontal relationship among the human beings themselves. And then finally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it's not only the rituals which are important. We have to develop our own character. Self-building is very important. And that's where he singles out two important qualities. One is the truthfulness, and the manifestation of that in this ayat is وَالْمَوْفُونَ بِعَهْدِهِمْ إِذَا عَاهَدُوا. They fulfill their pledge or their promise when they make the pledge. وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَحِينَ الْبَأْسِ. And the second one is sabr and patience. That they maintain sabr and patience, whether it's the financial stress they have, or physical distress that they have, or during the time of battle and conflicts, or the challenges that we, for example, many times go through as a minority living in a non-Muslim country because of social problems and political issues. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then ends with the words أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. These are the true righteous people. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُتَّقُونَ. It's interesting that the ayat began with the word bir and ends with the word taqwa. That's very interesting flow. That this is how, when all these three components of sound belief system, as well as this commitment, which is shown by charity and rituals, with right kind of character in a human being, that's where a person becomes among the muttaqun and the righteous people. And interestingly, our fourth Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, in the dua for the children in Sayf al-Sajadiyah, he has a sentence there which is very interesting, where he says, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your children in these words, Allahumma ja'aluhum, O Allah, make them abrar, atqiya, bosara. Three things. Of course, it's a longer, passage. Abrar, that's the plural of bar or bar, which is there. Atqiya is plural of taqi. And bosara means those who have insight into issues. And this is where we see that this ayat with this dua from the Imam basically covers all elements of the curriculum that we are talking about. For example, if you look at the themes and the modules, you will see we are talking about the origin, Amana Billah, and then we talk about Wal Yawm al-Akhir here, and in between is the path. Believing in the Malaika and the Kitab and the Nabiyyin. So the guidance there, it comes here in the section B here. Module 2 talks about divine guidance. Module 3 talks about the roadmap to self-purification. And this doesn't just come directly to us. It comes through the prophets and the messengers. So the emphasis is on our own prophet, and where the guidance then is continued through the A'immah of Ahlul Bayt, alayhim salatu wassalam. And keeping in mind our own time, the era of ghaybat, that's where the emphasis is there, especially for the present Imam and the period of his ghaybat. What are our responsibilities? How do we conduct ourselves at that time? And of course, this is the seventh module about societal well-being, where everything, how we interact with the family members, with the relatives, with the community and the society at large. So all these issues will come in. So when we talk about Anbiya and Mursaleen, this is where even history becomes part of it. Aqidah is there also. So all the issues which are discussed basically can be one way or another traced back to the ayat of Bir that we looked at earlier. This is basically, I was looking at the thread that table number 1 had made. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. This is the manifestation of that. Where you see this, number 1, we're talking about the origin, and that is the Creator and His creation. Everything comes under that. Number 2, divine guidance. So nubuwwat and the whole process of guidance comes in. Roadmap to self-purification, the actual message. What is that message? And that has been given to us by Rasulullah, and it has continued through the seerah and the example and teachings of the A'immah of Ahlul Bayt. Then we focus on the period of ghaybat and the society at large, taking us back to the issue of return to the Creator. And this is how, the curriculum basically is formed. So everything eventually goes back to that ayat, which is a very comprehensive ayat about who are the bar and who are the muttaqun, inshallah. So, with that blessing of this ayat is the basically the guiding light for us. Everything is weaved into it. That's it.